year 1970, in the city of San Diego, under the Coronado Bridge, lied a little piece of land. A little piece of land that the Chicano community of Logan Heights wanted to make into a park. A park where all the chavalitos could come and play in, so they wouldn't have to play in the street and get run over by a car. A park where all the viejitos could come in the tarde and just sit down and watch the sun go down. A park where all the familias could come and just get together on a Sunday afternoon and celebrate the spirit of life itself. But the city of San Diego said, chale, we're gonna make a highway patrol substation here. So on April the 22nd, 1970, La Raza of Logan Heights and other Chicano communities got together and they walked on the land and they took it over with their picks and their shovels and they began to build their own park. And today, almost 20 years later, that little piece of land under the Coronado Bridge in San Diego is known to people everywhere as Chicano Park. Órale, raza, vamos al parque. Yeah.
Yeah, so while you all were listening to Under the Boardwalk in 1970, we were listening to Los Alacranes play a little song about that little piece of land underneath the Coronado Bridge in San Diego. My mom and my grandmother played this song for me. They told me about the story, people getting together, families, kids like me, wanting a park where they could play and make friends in their community. And this story, this song, was really captured my imagination as a kid. And it really, for a long time, was the only thing I would know about San Diego. So it made this place pretty legendary for me. So it's no surprise today, perhaps, that I am directing the Opening the Outdoors initiative at the Center for Civic Engagement of the San Diego Foundation. I get to connect and protect nature. I get to increase access to the outdoors for kids who don't have it. I really love my job because it's so aligned with my own personal values, which is funny because about a year into the gig, I had to confess to my boss, Emily Young, who many of you know, that I didn't identify as an environmentalist. I still say that, like I whisper that, you know what I mean? Because you can imagine I'm managing one of the largest environmental programs at a community foundation in the region, but I don't identify as an environmentalist. So you can imagine her dismay. She was probably horrified. But this led into a much deeper conversation about personal values. So in my formative years in nature, they took place in Yosemite, where for 5 summers in a row, my grandmother signed us up with the YMCA family camping program. So it was here that I got to play in the meadows, swim in the streams, all of my cousins there. We hiked trails. We roasted apples stuffed with cream cheese and granola over an open fire underneath a starry sky. I mean, these were really the first connections with nature that I had, and it really shaped me. You see, that's me right there in the white shirt. Notice the socks over the pants? Yeah, you guys did that too, I know you did. This is me in Yosemite. I mean, this is me 5 summers in a row with all of my cousins. And these were very formative years. My family embedded values of environmentalism in me. We just didn't call it that. And so, some of the things that we would do as an environmental family, even though we didn't call it that, was recycle. I had all hand-me-downs. We used public transportation. We had a garden. We would consume only the necessary, and we used very little. I mean, if you are all thinking to yourself, hey, I did that when I was a kid, surprise, you might be an environmentalist too. But this is the way that we grew up, very, very aligned with environmental values, but we just didn't call it that. So I thought it was really important to show you this picture. It's very precious to my family. That little girl in the bottom is my mom. The woman above her is my grandmother, Aurora, who keeps a more active Facebook than I do, by the way. The woman next to her is my great-grandma. Below her, my great-great-grandmother and my great-great-great-grandmother. This is 5 generations of women in San Bernardino, California. This picture was taken in 1960. Super cool. So these women, I mean, I wasn't born yet, obviously, but these women would critically shape my ideas about environment and about philanthropic values. But again, I didn't know that was happening because we didn't call it that. We didn't have those fancy terms. My grandmother, for example, Aurora, who's standing right above my mom, she would always volunteer us for cleaning up the neighbor's yard. She was doing things like writing $100 checks for the woman up the street who was going to start a seamstress business. One time, I remember her tasking us with going around the neighborhood and collecting keys because there was going to be a community statue of Cesar Chavez, and everybody had to contribute their keys. So there we went around the neighborhood looking for keys, and I remember that day so clearly because we were all doing that together. And I felt like we were really contributing to something that was greater than myself, and I felt a part of something. I felt a part of community. So my grandmother had her own set of keys to contribute. We put them in a little checkbook box, and we sent them off through the post office. And that was a really special day. So these were the values that I grew up with. More recently, we started a fund for my grandmother called the Aurora Social Justice Fund at the San Diego Community Foundation, and we've been practicing philanthropy, more traditional philanthropy, as a family. I want to show you some pictures of Sauces Park. These are graffiti murals. Sauces Park is in Tijuana, and this is actually part of a binational project that is funded by the San Diego Foundation and the US EPA. And the idea is that it creates a binational corridor of nature for people to enjoy. And so when the project got started, there was this really cool opportunity to bring an artist from Tijuana, his name's Libre Gutierrez, to the project, but there was no stipend for him and his team. So I went back to my family and I told them about the project. They were very excited. Together, we provided a very modest stipend for the artist and his team so that this mural could happen. And everybody got involved. My uncle donated the paint. I mean, it was like a really cool thing, So why, you asked, did we get involved in building a park? And I think about that and I think, gosh, my experiences in nature as a kid were so powerful and have really shaped who I am today that maybe this opportunity for kids to visit this park will do the same for them. Because we know that if kids are exposed to nature, they're more likely to love it, and like me, they'll fight to protect it. So, we all need nature. This morning, I was reading a BBC report and I was horrified. Only 1 in 5 children feel connected to nature. Only 1 in 5. We all remember our experiences in nature as a child, how they shaped us. Time in nature is not frivolous. And so this is a really cool project as well that happened last year. This is Yella Kids, Youth and Leaders Living Actively. They are primarily refugee and immigrant kids. We partnered with the San Diego River Park Foundation to do this service day. And that day, 40 refugee kids and their families planted trees. What a powerful thing. So my grandmother's fund funded the plants. We bought all the plants for this project, and that was really great. And the research tells us that if you plant a tree, you are more likely to love it. And sure enough, I had only read that in theory, but this day I got to live that because this gentleman on the right planted that tree and he named it. So I thought that was, that was evidence that it's really important, that connection. So all of this traditional giving through my grandmother's fund was really fun because we were doing philanthropy together, right? But it felt a lot like what we did growing up. So I started talking to Miriam Solis Coronel, who many of you know. She works for REI. And we started noticing, where are the Latinas in philanthropy? Why aren't they at the leadership level? I mean, often even when I walk into a meeting and it's about some environmental issue, I'm the only Latina in the room. And we started having this conversation, what would it be if we joined our personal giving this year and we, made grants together? They would be small, but we would be doing that together. So we said, okay, let's see if other people would be interested. We sent out an email. Very generic, didn't give very much information because we didn't really know what we were doing. Within a week, we had 38 women who enthusiastically responded saying, yes, I don't know what you're doing, I know it's called the Latina Giving Circle, and I want to be a part of it. So I think this was really, really powerful evidence that we were on the right track and that San Diego, the region, could really use a Latina Giving Circle. So we are about to launch on November 14th. Our goal is 300 Latinas in the first year, and I think that we're going to surpass that. So, in thinking about when I became an environmentalist and when I became a philanthropist, it's really hard to pinpoint when that happened. Because in my case, I didn't become those things, I already was those things. I was those things all along, I just didn't call it that. So the opportunity here in our work and in thinking about how we engage with community, there's a really, really important opportunity to reframe how we're talking about being philanthropists and being environmentalists. And what if, instead of looking through the traditional lens of philanthropy, the traditional structural lens that we all work with, we instead looked at the unique fabric of the community. What is their relationship to nature? What would they like it to be? What's their relationship to one another? The possibility here to reframe that conversation is really exciting to me, and I think it's an opportunity for all of us. So I invite you to continue this conversation in thinking about your own philanthropy. I mean, a lot of us work in the philanthropic sector, and I'm curious how many of us work in the philanthropic sector and actually identify as environmentalists or philanthropists. And so this is kind of a good conversation to have within our organizations, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity. So I encourage you to contact me if you'd like to continue the conversation, and I'm really happy that you're all here to listen to my story, and I'm grateful that you stayed. Thank you.